A very good morning to all of you. I'm really happy to be among technology leaders of BFSI sector, deliberating on the issues of relevance in technology adoption by the BFSI sector. And I really appreciate that the theme chosen by the ET is really most relevant in today's transforming financial sector, which is adopting technology on a day-in, day-out basis, facing numerous challenges, which sometimes gives us success stories in adoption of a technology, and equally strong failures. So I'll just broadly discuss with you and give my perspective about how the banking technology and in this hyper-connected world is going to transform the landscape, and what are the challenges, and what are the expectations of the system and delivery channels. You are pretty well aware that a large segment, 65% of the GDP comes from the services sector. And out of that, 22% comes from the sector which is related to financial sector, real estate, and ancillary sectors. These sectors not only provide a lot of scope for economic development, generate employment, but are very relevant for the well-being of the economy of a country. The topic chosen is a hyper-connected world which throws a lot of challenges on the part of the BFSI world institutions to adopt technology. The technological obsolescence is so fast that sometimes by the time you adopt a technology and in a large-scale institution you start implementing it, and it becomes obsolete and the cost is not able to be realized after it. Fintechs have already shown a very good progress in the payment space. They are equally working in the space of corporate banking. Banks have already started tie-up. The live example is 59minutes.com is the one technology platform which was adopted by the even public sector banks for ease of lending into the MSME segment. Going forward, the technology will be adopted by each and every segment of the banking space. It has already shown its growth into the payment space. The growth of payments is phenomenal. From 17% present, even the BCG has estimated it to grow it to 67% by maybe in the next 5 years. NPCI payments, all these are really creating a change into the payment space. As rightly said, now the change is equally needed into the corporate space. That will bring greater avenues for the technological and the CIOs to find out the new product, services, and the processes to benefit the BFSI sector. Now this digital conclave, I think the topics chosen are very relevant. Let me tell you, any technology, its adoption has got 3-4 different stages. Development of a technology, I think India's technological superiority in development of a IT product, in development of a technology is proven across the world. We need not elaborate on it. Then adoption of a technology, so that technology is accepted by the banking and financial sector, insurance and insurance sector institutions. That is the second phase of it. And the third phase of it is acceptance of that technology by the end users, and that is dependent upon 3-4 major factors. One thing is awareness among the end users about the availability of the technology, about availability of the product and services that needs a large level of facilitation at the grassroots level, because India is a very diverse country with such a large population. It's not only that in metro people are all tech savvy and they can do. Our products and technology has to meet out the requirement of each and every segment, and a large segment of which is into the rural and semi-urban areas where, yes, technology is growing faster than even metros, but then their acceptance of the technology is still limited to the payment space, and in other areas they still rely on personal contact basis, and that is still continuing. So in a country like ours, where the banking sector may transform itself from existing brick and mortar branches to the virtual banks in future, and few of the bank countries it has already been experimented. Virtual banks have been created where there is no brick and mortar branch. Taiwan Bank is one of an example where it's a virtual bank only. They have a platform as well as always active VDR where they can communicate with the customer through technology. So what we have to look at it is, yes, the technologies adopted, which we develop, should be sustainable for a longer run, which can be accepted by the end users for adoption, and which really brings in certain cost benefit to the BFSI institutions. Because if the technology ends up only in providing an enhanced experience without bringing any revenue generation to the institution which is adopting it, and revenue generation can be in the form of cost saving also, it may not be a very lucrative idea for any of the BFSI institutions to adopt those technologies. So you people are basically, you are chief information officers, you are very good at understanding the technology. What is this to be understood is, yes, the need of an institution to generate revenue out of each technology. And the generation is in the form of cost saving, generation is in the form of better customer experience, and in the form of the acquisition of the fresh customers. So whenever we design any new product and a technology, let us first foresee what impact it will have on the cash flows and the revenue generation of that institution. If we align our technology development with that, I think the adoption of it will be still much more faster, because many of the products which were developed, adopted, could not succeed because they were not having the capacity to find a mass appeal. They were not having the capacity to save the cost or generate the revenues, which will allow them sustainable technology for the long run. Another area where we all have to deliberate and find out the solutions is how we can make a common man comfortable with the technology. I must appreciate the fintech companies who have taken a lead, and I don't mind naming them, like Paytm, PhonePe. So now these facilities are now reaching even to the lower level of economy, where you find even a small auto rickshaw is also having a payment facility. You can pay through them. Even a taxi driver has got the facility to paying through this technology system. Even small vendors have got the QR codes displayed and where you can display it. So in the times to come, for an entire BFSI space to stay relevant in the environment, everybody will have to transform their technology, and the technology will have to be customized, tailor-made for each and every segment of the customer they are working for. And there comes the scope of a greater collaboration in the BFSI institution as well as the fintech. Because one fintech cannot cater to the needs of all the segments. You may need a different type of platform, you may need a different type of APIs, you may different type of systems for in rural areas to catering to a farmer who is going to raise agriculture loan. You may need a different type of fintech with a different platform and skill sets which can meet out the requirement of a MSME sector. You may need a different for meeting out the requirements of a retail lending sector, a different requirement for a corporate sector, because all segments of these economies are unique. There cannot be one size fit all concept. So it has to be designed segregatedly. So the issue, the challenge that was raised by Mr. Ajmer Singh is how the corporate sector should adopt the technology, and the banking system is still slow in adoption of it. I do subscribe to it. Yes, that's a fact. But what have we, whether we have been able to successfully create an alternative platform to substitute the existing corporate decision making in credit and in providing the services. And that is still one missing link. That is one area where a greater thrust is needed, and a requirement is there that we should work out how best we can find out solutions to this segment. I'll definitely say these Indian institutions are really progressive, and the government has created as a great agenda. You must have seen that Digital India is the idea of the Prime Minister himself. He wants that transformation to take place. Various incentive schemes have been worked out, and you must have gone through the recent amendment that has been made, that every company which is having a turnover of more than 50 crores should have a electronic payment platform compulsorily and mandatorily. That will automatically create a space for the BFSI sector to create the products and services to cater to that requirement. Another way is now most of the digital transactions are made cheaper than the cash transactions which were prevalent earlier. And that way, I can, while working as a career banker in a bank for so many years, I can very well vouch for it. The tremendous transformation which has taken place into the banking space because of the adoption of the technology, the new ways of system, the new products that are being created, the new way of decision making, and now the banks are looking for the algorithm-based decision making for taking the credit decisions, so that the element of human interface is reduced, and the risk and responsibilities and accountability issues are also reduced, so that the people are able to take decisions more boldly, because their financial decisions are supported by the validation by a algorithm-based model which is generated by the technology and the system based on the certain predefined parameters. I'm really confident the entire initiative taken by the Economic Times in inviting the CIOs for this BFSI Digital Conclave will find a lot of new ideas, the challenges and the way forward for not only developing the technology, not only the creating the technology, but also to effectively, and when I say effectively, it means effectively in terms of convenience, effectively in terms of cost, effectively in terms of revenues. And if these things are blended together, the pace of adoption of technology will definitely improve in the BFSI sector. Now this hyper-connected world is providing a lot of convenience, because there is a quick transmission of data, there is a quick transformation, there is a quick interface, but it is also posing a great challenge. In a hyper-connected world, when every time you adopt a technology, the new development takes place, new technology comes in, so the technology obsolescence has become much more faster. And that creates a big challenge. That creates a big challenge for a large-size institution. It is just like an elephant takes a long time in turning because they've got a big size and all that. So as a big-size institution, once they adopt a technology for a particular system and the technology obsolescence takes place, then the entire investment is gone. So in a hyper-connected world where the technological changes, innovations are taking so fast, it is very difficult to sustain a technology for a long run. So there will have to be differentiated in two ways. The banks are already on a core banking platforms, so some plain vanilla technology platforms that will cater to the basic infrastructure of the technology. Then there will be embedded technology in form of which fintechs can produce for each and every segment, which will derive and have a linkage with the infrastructure, existing infrastructure, and can work on in each and every individual segment of the product and services and the economy. One thing I would like to share with you, banking sector is now actively involved in deciding the future course of digital, and even IBI itself conducts seminars and on technology, and maybe one is scheduled for 7th of this month itself, coming month. So purpose is let the technology be relevant, cost effective for the BFSI sector. I am sure you all are aware of the adoption, and I myself is pretty well aware. Many of the banks have got such a robust technological platforms and the products, but what is missing link is that platform, that particular product is not available to the customer because of the communication gap. The product is there in the system, the technology departments have created it, but the marketing has not pushed it to a level where it is accepted by the people, where it is understood by them and is adopted by them. So like you cook a very good food at your home, but you don't get any guests to eat it, then it's a, whatsoever maybe the taste and quality of a food, it won't serve any purpose because it has not been, guests have not come and they have not eaten it and they are not able to appreciate it because they don't know what you have cooked. So like the same way when you prepare a technology platform, we need that it has to be adopted by the end user, and for that, if we create a linkage, right from creation of a technology, processes for its adoption, and creating value for making it cost effective, then definitely all these new innovations which are taking place into the technology sector can find a place and a better embedment into the BFSI institutions. I would like to tell you a few more things about how the digitalization is being adopted in these institutions, and you are pretty well aware. You know, most of this banking system, because they are dealing with the people, they have got a very large database. They are sometimes constrained with the privacy, data privacy laws, and then they cannot use the data everywhere. But in-house, there is a lot of scope for creation of artificial intelligence-based, big data-based data lakes, so that they can create the infrastructure and utilize the data analytic for cross-selling of their product, upselling of their products, and for finding the newer posture. And that is one area where the entire BFSI sector requires new technological innovations and adoption of the technologies for creating a better MIS, a better tools to assess the customer behavior, the consumer behavior, their requirement. And I think all these cannot be assessed simply based on the financial data, the behavioral data, which is available on the social media, the behavioral data which is available into the art-native domains, will also have to be factored into to come out to a product which will be accepted by the masses. So the technological innovation has to be successful. Any product or any solutions to be successful has to find out a correlation and acceptability in the terms of its uses by the end users. I hope the topics which have been chosen by CIO, BFSI, Digital Conclave, and there is a galaxy of speakers which are going to dwell upon it, and I can see from the panel that a good number of panelists are available. We will be able to deliberate on all these issues. The technology adoption is not restricted only to banking sector. Even insurance is now has already started using this data, especially for customer onboarding. Only big challenge is after onboarding of a customer, once a person goes for insurance product, then they do not revisit the same because once they acquired a policy, then the replication is not there. I think we will have to find out that the product is not available only at the time of onboarding. let that product be expanded to an area so that it covers the entire life cycle of a insurance policy, right from obtaining of a policy to its servicing of it to a payment of it. So unless and until it's an integrated solution, right from customer onboarding to the end of that product cycle, then only it will be facilitated. Same way, it is equally applicable for the banking sector, the way I quoted an example of 59minutes.com. So this is basically bankers have already aligned with this fintech for working out a solution where in-principle approvals are given. Now, in-principle approval gives an additional tool in the hands of a decision maker, which gives a validation in terms of algorithm-based decisions taken by a machine. But that do not give a delivery to a customer. The delivery will happen only when that in-principle approval is converted into a real sanction, is converted into a future documentation, and is also converted into a future monitoring tools, so that the entire facility of that is available throughout the life cycle of that product. Same thing should happen in each and every segment of the economy, each and every segment of the banking space and the insurance space, and then only the technologies will be having a better advantage for adoption, which will give the cost-benefit analysis also to the institution. Recently, the regulator is also coming out in a big way in supporting the digital transactions. The government and a regulator have worked together to find out how we can increase the conversion of our cash transactions into the digital transactions in the shortest possible time. Incentives are being given to the staff for adoption of the digital technology, and a stage is coming where performance-linked incentive, even in public sector banks, will be given to the employees based on their propagation of this technology. It is based on how much of the new customers you have acquired, how many of the new people you have downloaded this particular application, how many of the new customers you have supported in doing the transaction through this, how many of the new people you have contacted for accepting this particular technology. So unless and until that framework is created, the technology alone will not, it's just like a food cooked at home, but not eaten away by the guest. So you develop a technology, but not utilized by the end user, so it won't derive the result. So these processes are already going on. Sometimes regulatory facilities, sometimes regulatory challenges also come into the way. Now, present issue being debated is MDR issue, whether it's making it free will be beneficial for digital development or not. We at IBA is also deliberating on it, and sometimes we can have a different notion. We may feel that yes, this technology which we have provided was remunerative. Maybe with the zero MDR, this may not be remunerative. But then there can be alternatives to it. Sometimes initially we think that that particular decision may not be remunerative, but if it gives you ancillary benefits in the form of increasing volumes into your business, if you give you increasing volumes into your deposits, it gives you increasing transactions to a customer. Suppose just because zero MDR, a customer prefer a particular shop because they know that payment transactions are free and the things are happening faster. They may start more footfalls and it may convert into a greater sales and it may convert into a better advantages. So it has to be looked into a holistic space, not in an isolated space. We cannot just look it as in a transaction. We have to look it as an individual impact on the overall working of that institution, overall working of that particular space. So whenever we look at technology, we cannot look it at the isolation. We have to look it in the canvas of a overall objectivity of that organization, how this technology is relevant for that particular segment for which it has been created, what will be its value addition into the revenue stream of that organization, what will be its benefit to the end user, the ultimate beneficiary of that product and processes, And how it will be sustainable in the long run? That is also a big question, because if it is not sustainable, it is a short-term technology, then the investment may outweigh the returns available to it. I would like to share with you a few of the new developments that has already taken place. For example, there was a lot of challenges in implementation of Aadhaar. It was permitted, the large database was created. Then some of the fintech who could get access to the Aadhaar database have taken that data and have started utilizing for their own financial gains. In the process, even the codes and the Aadhaar was restricted, its use was restricted, the data availability was restricted. So there has to be an ethical blend of technology with the privacy, data privacy of an individual. You cannot create a technology which will derive everything from the customer, which will derive everything from the end user, breaching his personal privacy, that I'm just watching your behavior just because I'll get personal benefit out of it. So that privacy aspect will also have to be taken care of while designing the right type of products and services for BFSI sector, because people have not become increasingly conscious about it. Government is also going to come out with a legislation on it. And Western countries, if you go, the legislations are very strong, because a breach in data privacies are viewed to be a serious offenses in a large number of cases. So those aspects will have to be taken care of while designing now future technologies for the banking sector. For fintechs, as I already stated with you, government is already planning to come out with a scheme in which the fintechs are going to get certain share of their additional business, because new areas are going into the cover, as I said to you about all compulsory onboarding of electronic payment firm by the corporates having a turnover of more than 50 crores. So that is going to be one step in this direction. In banking sector, there is a new change which is likely to come forward. Is there's explosion of the digital POS ecosystem in the country. Because MSME segment, this is, as I rightly said to you, is going to be the real beneficiary for this. So digital POS that is based on NFC, RFID or QR code will continue to grow phenomenally. In fact, the e-commerce, digital POS may also impact the cash on delivery model and replace it with the digital transaction. With the decline of debit card issuance, uses, and contactless method of digital POS may result into increased acceptance of cards. So one way, initially there was a trend. The trend was moving away from the cards, and people were thinking that, okay, mobile banking will find a greater space into the lives of the. But now again, with these new regulatory changes and the new government directions, the POS may have become still more relevant in times to come, because that becomes a regulatory requirement also. Now NBFC's sector is already using technology in a big way in enhancing the customer delivery, and I'm sure NBFC sector is technologically more equipped in providing end-to-end solutions to a small segment of customers, and that way there is a greater need of collaboration among various institutions, fintechs, NBFCs, and banks for giving a better experience as a cost saving, and it's a time for collaboration. So you can say 2020 is a decade for collaborations. A fintech alone cannot survive because they may not have access to the database. A bank alone cannot survive because without technology they may not be able to onboard customers effectively with the better experiences. And there will have to be a co-origination model. There has to be a method in which there is a collaboration between fintechs, between NBFCs, between banking sector, not only for better customer experience, but also for cost saving and effectiveness, as well as efficiency of the technology delivery. Some of the challenges which banks already are facing is cyber security challenges. You are pretty well aware. Technology on one part, when it facilitates also, then the greater technology challenges may come when there is a failure of technology and cyber security threats, and now customers are getting increasingly worried about hacking of their data and misutilization of their POS, misutilization of their cards. So these challenges will have to be adequately addressed, because if the technology culminates into the increasing number of frauds into the financial sector, then its adoption may get slow. People will feel that, yes, so there has to be a very ethical blend of technology, because financial sector is mainly dependent and survives on the trust, and the trust has to be maintained and created and nurtured so that the end users, they feel confidence, because banking is a matter of faith. Despite of inconvenience, people who like to keep money where they find it safe and they can get it back. Not only that, they get it fast. So getting fast is one aspect, but the greater, the way, sometimes safety precedes over the speed. So that aspect will have to be taken care of, because every technology which we adopt should see that whether it is taking care of the cyber security threats, and we are able to meet out the ever-changing expectations of our customers. In my personal opinion, in a country like ours, where there is a diverse population, majority of the India still lives in villages. We are into a transit phase. There will have to be a hybrid model, a combination of brick and mortar branches along with the adoption of the technology, which will gradually facilitate and aware the people and the customer about these options. Gradually, they will adopt them. This will be wrong to say that our rural masses are not adopting technology. If you see the number of mobile phones available with them and the payment system they are adopting, I think they are very fast in adoption of it. Only thing is to take them to the next level, there has to be a better awareness campaign, a better demonstration to them that the technology being adopted by them is safe enough for them to achieve. With these few words, I hope today's conclave will definitely come out to be a brainstorming session, and will give a roadmap ahead for digital development into the BFSI space. I wish you success of this, and hope the deliberations will be very meaningful by all of you. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to interact with you.